So, have you ever read a book that you can divide into two parts? One, how well it's written, and two, how the story sort of falls apart near the end. But you cannot hate on the book because the story fell apart. And you cannot say it's a very, very great book because the story fell apart. So I'm talking about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Hi everyone, my name is Bertha. My friends call me Penguin, and I talk about books. My side quests are books that I'm reading on the side of the main books that I'm reading to use as a palate cleanser or to, get out of a rut. One of my side quests that I recently completed was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So the book follows the story of this one young man who has been living in this strange world which he calls the house. Now, how do I describe this strange world? So for me, it was like Labyrinth, I think 1986, with David Bowie. Imagine that, but with all the white aesthetics. And maybe think along the lines of Sherlock's Mind Palace, if that makes sense. So that's how I kind of imagined when I was reading the book. So the book follows this one character whose name is Piranesi, and he's exploring this house and he's going through different parts of it and he's documenting everything that he's seeing. The thing is that he does not remember anything about himself. He doesn't even know his name. He just knows that he has this friend, sort of, that he calls the other, and he calls him Piranesi. Now, I did do a little digging, and Piranesi was this architect in the 16th or 17th century. And the funny thing is that he never designed any buildings, but he did make a lot of drawings. So I guess none of his drawings really became buildings, but yes. So Piranesi is that character. It takes us through this journey of how he's exploring new things and how he's like forming attachment with inanimate objects and how he sees himself through the eyes of this friend who is the other and how he agrees and disagrees with a lot of things that he is. The story takes a twist when there are other characters that are being introduced into the house, because as far as Piranesi is concerned, he has never come across anyone else living, any other living person. He comes across fishes and animals and everything, but never another person other than his friend, the other. And now there are new characters that are being introduced, and he's very confused about who to believe and who to not believe. And that is how the story ultimately comes to an end. Now, I can talk about it and make it spoiler free, but like, I don't know, let's dig into it. But like, this is the spoiler free part. Anyways, so moving on to the spoiler zone. So now there are these characters, and he's starting to find the journey the journal that he's keeping of recording whatever he finds and whatever he sees in the house. He starts to see that there are missing pages, and he starts to see that there are things that are partially there but not there, and now he's like confused as to who to believe and who not to believe. And during all of this, he comes across this other person who tells him that I've been here and I've done that, and it makes him seem like people are able to go and come back at their own will, but it's not making sense to him. In the end, we find out that Piranesi is actually this journalist who was writing a piece on this professor who believed that he could transcend between two different worlds, and the house was one of the other worlds that he was able to travel to. Now, the funny thing is that there's this one cop who's looking into this case, and he comes across Piranesi, and Piranesi is so confused with this that he doesn't want to leave, and ultimately he does leave, but he is very alienated with the life that he previously had. And it's very well written to a point, he does not feel like Piranesi, but he does not feel like the person that everybody says that he was. So he's this third entity that he's trying to figure out how to create a balance between these two. And the book ends with this note. It's very beautiful because, like, it talks about how, as human beings, we've had similar ideas and similar experiences growing up, and we always used to think that, oh, um, this can only happen to me, or I can only think up of this. For example, every person that I've talked to has played that part of, when you see a person jumping from one shadow to the other when you're in the car, and with the street lights and everything. Now, growing up, you do not think anybody else was thinking the same thing, but then you were introduced to the internet and you realize that, oh, you're not special. Everybody thought about that. So this book kind of like introduced that element into it, because the house was the same. So it's very confusing what that place was. How do you describe it? Was it a parallel universe? Was it not a parallel universe? So that part is like a little muddled. And the way that it ends is also like very confusing. But overall, the way Susanna Clarke writes about the house, the surrounding, it's all very beautiful. One more thing that I really liked was that when Piranesi is describing the house, he's talking about nouns as their proper nouns. So when he's talking about a room, he's going to call it room with a capital R, or river with a capital R, as in river, no names, like just normal nouns, and he's like, using them as proper nouns. And I mean, that is the first time I'm seeing this being used for in a writing style. So that was also very interesting. But anyways, that's all I have with this book right now. If you've read it, do comment and let me know what you think. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I would want to know your thoughts. And yes, subscribe, like, comment, follow for more.